Hello all, welcome to Dojo Tech Nuggets. Today's topic is Dojo Aspect. In the earlier versions of the Dojo toolkit, we used to have Dojo.connect. Let's see Dojo.connect in action. So I have an object called target object. In the target object, I have a function A. Similarly, I have advising object. In the advising object, I have function B. So let's run function A in the target object. So I'm running the function target object dot function A. So if I run it, so as expected, this is printed. Function A is called and with the argument because we passed the argument 3. So now my goal is to call function B in the advising object whenever function A is called in the target object. So one way to achieve that is we just simply call the function B after your function A. But my thing is I don't want to change the existing structure. I just want to keep function B as it is, function A as it is. I don't want to change the signature. I don't want to change the body of the function. So the way to do it is connect dojo.connect. So what it says is connect the function in that function A in the target object to the function B in the advising object. So once you write that from next time onwards, whenever you call function A, function B will be automatically called. So let me clear the console and then run it. See, function A is called with argument 3 and function B is called with the argument 3. So the good thing is function B can also receive the arguments whatever we pass to function A. So this functionality exists until Dojo 1.7. So they replaced with a much more powerful module called Aspect. So that aspect has more features than the Connect. Let's go over them. So these are the methods that are available in the aspect. So you have after what it does is like connect it the advising function will be called after the target method. Advising function can receive the arguments and it can also pass the result back to the target method. It is much more powerful than connect. So before method what it does is in connect advising function will be called before the target method, and we have around function. It has more capabilities. Once before the target method it can replace the target method itself. It can call the target method, and it can call any other functions after the target method. Okay, so let's experiment with these methods in the BAW tool. So this is the simple coach view. It has number 1 and it has number 2 and it has the result. And when I click on call add numbers, it will call a function. When I click on call add numbers, so it has event. So what that is, this on click event, so it gets the data from integer 1 because number 1 is integer 1 and number 2 is integer 2. So it gets the data from integer 1 and integer 2 and calls this call add numbers function. So I have this call add numbers function in the inline JavaScript. So if you see here, this dot call add numbers, so it accepts 2 arguments, and then what it does is it sets the data, it sets the result on the result control. So if you remember, now we have result integer, also result integer box on the UI. So it gets that control, and then it calls the this dot add number. So this is another function, which actually does the calculation. So simple. So when I click on call add numbers, this will call a function with these two arguments, and this call add numbers will again call this add numbers, which does this addition, and then returns the result, and that result will be set on the result integer box. Run this. So number one I am putting 3, number one I'm putting 4, and if I click on call add numbers, the result is set on the result box. So if you see the console, see the call add numbers function is called first, and then add numbers function is called next, which does the calculation and sends data back to the call add numbers, and then call add number sets this the result on the result box. So I'm adding the AMD, which is Dojo Aspect, to this. Save it. Now we can use aspect in the coach view. So in the inline JavaScript, I added a function. So aspect that after, aspect what we have, whatever, we added the ID in the AMD, and after is the method in the aspect. So this is the target object. So my goal is I want to call, a function. This is my advising function. Okay, I want to call this function whenever the add numbers is called. So since add numbers is in the this object, right? So this is the target object, and add numbers is the method where I want to invoke my advising function once it once this add numbers function is called. And I also want to return the number 11 to the add numbers function. See, this was not possible with the dojo.connect. But what I'm doing here is whenever add numbers is called, I'm just returning the result, which is fixed result 11. So let's see this in action. So I'm putting 3 and I'm keeping 4. And see, even though the result is 7, now we are seeing the result 11, because in our function we said that just return the fixed result 11 in the aspect dot after method. So let's see the order of which the function is called. So first the call add numbers is function is called whenever I click at this call add numbers, and then add numbers function is called. After that add number method is called. This last line is from the aspect dot after. Now let's see the aspect dot before. My goal is to call this advising function before the add numbers. So let's run it. So I'm keeping 3 and I'm keeping 4 to set the call add numbers. This time, the result is same, but let's look at the logs, console logs. So first call add numbers function is called whenever I click on this button, and then advising function is called before the add numbers as expected. Now let's see the around method. So what I want to do is, if the number 1, number 1 is greater than 10, I would like to return 100 irrespective of number 1 value and number 2 value. If number 1 is greater than 10, just blindly return the 100 to the result. Otherwise, just call the add numbers. Okay, so if you see the signature, so this is same, the target object where this add number resides, and then it has the advising factory as the third argument, and our advisory factory accepts the function, original function, which is this add numbers. So after that, you can write your own logic, you know or you can call the original function, which is add numbers, or you can choose not to call. So we can call another any other functions. Okay, so let's see this in action. So let me put number 11 and number 4. Since number 1 is greater than 10, we should see the result 100. See, the result is 100. If I pass number 9, the original method is called and it yields the correct result. So this is how the around method works in the aspect. Let's see how we can use these functions when you're writing your own coach view. Obviously, you will be writing much more complicated functions than the add numbers, right? So uh, we have this integer box, integer 1. Let's see what's inside this integer 1 object. And once we observe what's inside, what are the functions, what are the methods, what are the variables that are available inside this integer 1, then we will apply aspect to this integer 1 object. So let's go to the behavior and click on add, and I'm just pasting 2 lines of the code. What it does is the first line gets hold of that integer 1 and then prints that object in the console. Let's run it. So I ran it and then opening the console. So if you see the integer 1 has, it has some methods. So let me copy this integer 1 object and see what's inside it. As a global variable temp1 dot. I'm more interested in proto object because I know what's inside the proto object. It has the private methods that are used to construct and operate this integer object. So in the proto object we have all this that's available underscore. So what I want to do is whenever this set value, okay, which is used to set the value from this text box to the binding object. So whenever that is called, whenever this function called, I want to know, or I want to run another function whenever this set value is called. Let's see how we can do that. So in the load, I wrote this aspect that after. So integer 1 is the our target object. But our actual target object is proto underscore that proto. So this because this underscore that proto in the integer 1 has this method set value. Okay. So whenever that set value is called, I want to execute my advising function. So let me run this and open the console, clear the console. So if I type in number in this integer box and focus out, then internally it sets the value of the entered number to the binding object. So that means set value function is called. So whenever set value function is called, since we have written this aspect that after advising function, it should print the console.log whatever we have written in the advising function. So let me write 3 and then focus out. So if I see the console, see called after the set value in integer 1. and the first argument is true, and second argument is list of the arguments. So it has, in that argument, it has a array. The second value we entered 3. So let's run it again. Let me put some large number 37678. Focus out, and then when the console, you see the first argument is always true, I guess. So it printed the objects. So I hope you see the value of this Dojo Aspect module, because without modifying the original function body, we are able to invoke other functions. We can utilize the arguments from the original methods. We can utilize the return values from the original methods too. So that's all, guys, in today's session. Thank you for watching.